What's up, coaches? Welcome to this edition of the Basic B-Ball podcast. Today I'm on with Coach Cody Fueger at Kentucky. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Alex. Thanks for having me on, man.
Awesome. Appreciate you coming on. But as we get going here, we're just hoping for a little background so people listening kind of can know where you've been at and your journey to Kentucky.
Yeah, so this is going to be year number 22 for me in Division I. I kind of got, my start when I was 16 years old. Rick Majerus, former coach at University of Utah and St. Louis, Marquette, a couple other places, Ball State. He had basketball camps in Milwaukee, where he's from. When I was younger, I was the kid that worked my tail off, dove on loose balls, just did everything the coach wanted. When I got old enough, he wanted me to work at the camp. So at 16 years old, I started coaching at his camps. And that's when I fell in love with coaching. So that we got to know each other a little bit when I'd be working camp. When I graduated high school, he asked me to walk on, but I was too cheap. I didn't want to pay out-of-state tuition. Midwest guys mostly are pretty cheap. So he said, all right, come and work for me and I'll give you scholarship. So I decided to work for him. I knew I wanted to be a college basketball coach at that time. And that's kind of what my plan was. I put all my effort into doing that. I started with him. I was at University of Utah for 5 years as a manager and student assistant and got my master's there. So I was an administrative assistant, worked for Ray Giacoletti. And then I went from University of Utah to Louisiana Tech. I was working there for 4 years. Worked for Kerry Rupp there, was the director of basketball operations. And I did every part of the job, right? As I did when I was at University of Utah, I did every single part of the job. Then I went from from Louisiana Tech to UC Riverside, was there for a year with Jim Wooldridge. Then I went from UC Riverside to Utah State with Stu Morrill, learned a ton there also. Utah State to BYU with Dave Rose. Then I went from BYU to Utah Valley with Mark Pope, then back to BYU, and now I'm at University of Kentucky. So, like I said, I think that's my 7th school now, and my 22nd year in Division I college basketball.
I'm sure it flies by, man. I don't know if it feels like that, but gosh, I can only imagine, especially bouncing around like that.
Yeah, no, I just look in the mirror and I'm like, dude, you're 41. What happened? What have you been doing? So it's pretty neat, though. Pretty lucky. My family, they have their ups and downs with it, as all families do. It's not the easiest profession, but excited to be here at University of Kentucky right now.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I think it's so cool that you guys have bounced around and kind of you've kept with Coach Pope for as long as you have. Just hoping you kind of could talk on that a little bit. You guys have now your 3rd school with him, of kind of how that's been, and especially having now success at 2 different stops, and kind of what that's looked like for you being able to stay with him, and then just kind of your experience, how it's been going along with Coach Pope as you've been with him.
Yeah, each job's been way different too, right? Like Utah Valley, BYU to Kentucky. Utah Valley was when I went over there with him, it was just me and him for the first 3 weeks together, working in the coach's locker room because we couldn't get into the offices. Long story short, we couldn't get in the offices, so we were in the coach's locker room every single day. We had 12 different basketballs. It was just unbelievable situation. We were so lucky to get started at that, where no one's critiquing every single move we were doing, right? Because University of Utah Valley, no one really cared at that time. So we kind of felt it like it was a startup company. That's how we took it. That's how we felt about it. And we were just working nonstop day and night on trying to make that place successful. It was an unbelievable experience. Like I said, no one was looking over our shoulder. Our athletic directors were, hey, you guys, if you guys need money, you guys raise it. If you guys need to do this, you guys got to do it yourselves. And we're like, all right, perfect. We just kind of took the bull by the horns, and we said, let's go. And had 4 great years there. We built a practice facility. We went from the most wins in school history. We broke the record back-to-back from 23 to 25. Had unbelievable success there and really enjoyed it. And then we went from Utah Valley to BYU, where we took over after, Dave Rose, a Hall of Famer, and had an unbelievable time there. A lot of those kids that, we recruited at BYU when we were there, because they go on these Mormon missions. So, I coached one kid his freshman year and one kid his senior year. He went on a mission in between there. So it was really, really a crazy experience, but it was awesome. At an unbelievable time, great administration. The players, had a lot of fun with those guys. And like I said, each stop's been kind of a little bit different, where people really care at BYU too, right? And they know what you're doing, and everybody knows who you are, and they're stopping me at every one of my kids' games or whatever, and they care about BYU basketball, and it was an unbelievable opportunity. And now I'm at University of Kentucky, and my first time just getting on the plane from Atlanta to Lexington, somebody stops me as I'm walking through. Hey, Coach, glad to have you on board. And I wasn't even announced and anything like that. And I said, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And as I'm getting on the plane, he goes, Coach, you mind if I take a picture? I'm sitting right behind him. Mind if I take a picture? And I'm thinking he's going to, kind of turn around and we're going to take a selfie together. But instead, he just turns to me and takes just a picture of me like I'm a zoo animal or something like that. So that's University of Kentucky, man. They really care, and it's awesome. It's an unbelievable experience, and being able to do it with Coach Pope's been remarkable, right? We think about things the same way, how to develop the players, how to build relationships with the players, how to win. We think of it the same way. We really care, and we really want to win at the highest level.
Yeah, man, that's crazy to think about that from, like you said, at Utah Valley, of you guys are, like you said, you're funding your program, and then BYU, great fan base and great facilities, I'm sure, to Kentucky. Now you're at one of the biggest basketball programs in the country. Like, it's such a crazy shift, I'm sure, for you guys, but that's awesome. You guys have been able to stay together and do that together. What's it look like for you guys at Kentucky now? I know you guys have been there for a little bit and kind of getting practice and stuff like that. Still a little bit of ways to the season, but what's it look like for you guys kind of implementing either new systems or systems you've had at BYU, and then culture and things like that? How's that looked for you guys implementing and kind of putting in what you guys have?
Yeah, I mean, we'll put in our core principles on both sides of the ball. So we spent all summer doing that. We had 8 weeks with the guys that came in here. They worked their tail off. I told you before the podcast kind of started, we had 0 guys on the roster. We showed up and there were 0 guys. And, so we have 12 new players that have never been here. They kind of know Kentucky, but they don't know Kentucky. So that's been awesome to do, right? Because you got 12 new guys, and you're just kind of, now you got to win at the highest level. You're at the University of Kentucky, but that's been really fun. Like I said, we kind of putting our core principles in that we've always had, that Coach Pope's always believed in, is pace, space, extra pass. So that's all we talk about offensively: pace, space, extra pass, just moving the ball, making plays for each other. And so we spent all summer working on that and implementing that. And every single year we've kind of tweaked the offense on what we're doing. It's always been pace, space, extra pass, but we had Ali Khalifa at BYU, and we did certain things with him offensively that we couldn't do with Fus Traore and Atiki Ali Atiki. So we've kind of manipulated our offense and what would be best, and we're doing the same thing with University of Kentucky. We're still trying to shoot 35 threes a game. That's our goal. That's going to be really hard to do. That was kind of our goal last year at BYU. We ended up shooting 32 a game, but our goal is to try to get 35 a game, which is, like I said, that's really hard to do. And then we're trying to send 4 to the offensive glass every single time. So those are the 3 things that we really care about offensively that we're trying to instill in our team. And those are the core principles. And like I said, with personnel and things like that, we'll manipulate and change plays and how we're running our motion offense and things like that. But Those are the key things. And then defensively, we've got 4 things that we're really trying to take care of. It's our transition defense, it's our ball screen defense, it's our guard your yard, and then our 4th thing is defensive rebound. So those 3 things offensively, those 4 things defensively, and at the end of the day, we'll change how we're doing it with personnel. But those are the key things that we're looking to do.
I love it, man. No, you guys are so fun to watch at BYU last year, and just excited to see what that's going to look like at Kentucky. Just bigger program for you guys. You kind of mentioned of trying to get 35 threes a game, and like that is, you guys shot 32 or made 32 or whatever that was at BYU, and you did it efficiently too. It wasn't like you guys are just jacking and getting shots up. Like that's darn near a 3 per minute. What does that look like for you guys to do that? Like, how do you guys implement that into your practices, and how are you guys kind of coaching guys to get that many threes up and do it efficiently? Because like I said, you're not just jacking them up and just hoisting up threes. Like, you're efficient at it. And I know it's a little bit personnel based, but what does that look like for you guys in practice and through games? Like, what kind of conversations and things are you implementing in practice to be able to do that and do it at such an efficient rate?
That's awesome. So yeah, we try to do a ton of it. First off, in transition and practice, right? Well, actually, let me start with this. If you turn down an open shot, you're coming out, no matter who you are. Like that's a number 1 step in our program. If you turn down an open shot, you're coming out. So that's like the first thing that we have to build and instill with our players. You know, like this was during the summer, Kobe Brea, he turned down a catch and shoot 3 in practice, and Coach Pope just drilled him. He's like, don't do that again. If you do that again, you're coming out, right? During practice, like it's over. Like that's not what we do here. Then 1 minute later, Kobe Brea hit 4 straight threes. So what that does is that builds ultimate confidence in your players. So that's the first thing, first barrier that we have to break is you are shooting that shot no matter what. Time, score, you are shooting that shot. We're all about it. That's what we're doing. We're going to step on people's throats at the end of the day, and we need you to shoot that ball. So that's something that like I said, the first barrier that we have to break with these guys. Then we'll show them all the different ways we're getting threes, right? In transition with our pace-based extra pass. If we can pass ahead and boom, 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 get that ball moving, you get a catch and shoot 3, we are going. And our guys just get so much confidence from not only us making them shoot that shot, but also in transition where they get like the most open you're going to be is as soon as you catch that ball. So we want our guys ready to shoot, and they need to shoot it every single time. And that just makes it easier where transition, this ball is flying around. And if you have 4 or 5 guys on the perimeter that can make a shot, teams get really spread out. Now we're able to get into our drive and kick game and get even more threes up. Right, so that's where we build it. We spend every one of our drills, every one of our practices is focusing in on trying to get more threes. We're also sending 4 to the offensive glass, long shots, long rebounds. So now we're able to tip it out, and the first thing we're looking for is you get a tip out, bang, we're trying to shoot another 3, right? So that's kind of how we build it. That's what we talk about every single day. But those are the ways that we work on it. And like I said, I can go through 40 different specific drills where we're doing it and our guys are working on it. And also they know they got to spend a lot of time in this gym getting threes up, right? That's important. Like we're shooting a ton of threes. We're going to recruit that way. We want gravity of the floor, right? We need guys like Kirk Krissa, who shoots the daylights out of the ball, shot 43%, Kobe Brea, Jackson Robinson. All these guys bring such a big gravity where it just gives us tons of space where now we're getting a ton of layups too at the rim.
No, it's awesome. I think that's such a cool way to put that. Like you said, coach is drilling guys for not shooting. And usually you hear about coaches getting on guys for taking a bad shot or whatever that looks like. But it's like, no, if you're open, like you have to shoot it, and getting kind of barked at for that is such like a different mind thing of like, hey, I just got yelled at for not shooting it. Like, man, that gives me the green light to let it fly a little bit. What does that look like for you guys, making sure guys' hands and feet are ready to shoot it? Because that's such a huge part of it. It's like you can be wide open, but if you're not ready to shoot it, like it doesn't really help. So what's kind of some stuff you guys do in practice to make sure guys are ready for that? Because that is every single catch, you guys have to be ready. If you're getting that many threes up, that means literally every catch, hands and feet need to be ready to shoot it. And what's that look like for you guys implementing that outside of just telling guys, hey, shoot it? But how do you guys really drill that into guys?
That's awesome. That's a great question. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we know all the plays, all this stuff matters, but it's skill development for us, right? We take that extremely important. That's huge for us. So we'll spend a ton of time. These are exactly the shots that you're going to be getting in transition. Offensive rebounds. So we'll drill that every single day about them getting their feet set and catch and shoot three. Like every single drill, we'll spend, say we're doing skill, all right, 100 or at least every single day, each guy's getting 100 threes up in pre-practice skill work. So that's a huge thing for us, how they're getting them. And, at the end of the day, like a lot of them are catch and shoot threes. We'll shoot some off the bounce, but a lot of them are catch and shoot threes. So like I said, we'll just go through these game reps, game speed, and they'll know exactly what threes they're getting up. During practice, we'll show them, here's the threes, and we'll send these guys clips, not of them turning down shots. We'll send them clips of, hey, Jackson Robinson's shooting this three. These are threes that you should be looking at too. So like like Andrew Carr, he turned down a couple shots right when we first got here. And I'll send him clips of guys shooting those shots. I don't want to show him of what he's not doing. I want to show him clips of what to do over and over again. So that gets their mindset more and more on like, oh, these are the shots that they want me to take. That's what it looks like. So we'll spend a lot of time doing that too.
Now I love that. I think especially with our with guys nowadays, it's they need like a visual example of what that looks like. It's one thing to tell them, hey, do this, but to show them that visual example, like so much, I think more impactful than being like, hey, don't do that. Instead phrasing it and especially showing it like, hey, do this. This is what it looks like to make that shot. One of the things you kind of mentioned too was getting those offensive rebound threes. So off the offensive rebound, you also mentioned you guys crash 4. So what does that look like for you guys if you're crashing 4 to then get a guy spotted up on, I think some guys that call it a kill shot of like the offensive rebound, then make the 3? Like, what does that look like for you guys to get guys then spaced out to the 3-point line as you're crashing 4? Like, how are you guys getting threes up in that way?
So we call it, wedge rebounding, where the only guy that's not crashing is the guy that's shooting, right? All 4 guys are trying to wedge their guy beneath the basket, right? So we get a long rebound, and as soon as it's tipped out, these guys are flying out to the 3, racing to space. Race to space, we talk about all the time. I mean, the best race to space guy in the world is Steph Curry, right? He's the best in the world. So we'll show our guys clips of Steph Curry racing to space. We'll show our guys clips of us doing it at BYU or whatever, just so they see it over and over again. This rebound comes, race to space, be down, ready to shoot it. Like you said, that's the easiest. That's another way to get the easy catch and shoot 3. I think I remember even at BYU, we ended up losing the game, which sucks, but it was a pivotal moment for our team. It was our first Big 12 game. Man, our guys were jacked. We were freaking jacked. We're playing at home, and I remember the first 10 possessions, we had the most wide open threes that we've ever had at BYU, but it was brick, 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 and we kept on getting every offensive rebound, but it was still brick, brick, brick. We ended up, like I said, it was a bad ending. We ended up losing, but that's where we just doubled down as a team. Guys, this is what we do. And that gave our guys even more and more confidence to keep on doing it, keep on wedge rebounding, keep on shooting threes. But long story short, we do different drills to do, offensive rebound, racing space, getting a catch and shoot 3. Now, if you catch the ball underneath the basket and it's you in the rim, go finish. But a lot of times it's everybody packed in there, and we space out quick.
Nice. With that wedge rebound, I'm curious, do you guys teach a certain way? Do they have to go? I know tagging up's one of the big things now with offensive rebounding. Do you guys teach them they have to go over the top, or do they have free space of you're literally just trying to pretty much, like you said, shove your guy into the rim and create that space? Is there a way you guys teach that offensive rebound and the wedging?
Yeah, so we'll just go high side every single time. You have to go. If you're in the corner, we'll watch film on it, every practice, everything. And if you're going beneath them, we talk about it. We show them over and over again. We're going high side, high side, high side. Because like I talked about, transition defense is so important. That's the easiest way to score. That's how we want to score. So we spend a lot of time with our wedge rebounding and making sure our transition D is off the charts. That's a huge deal for us.
That's awesome. Kind of going back to where you started a little bit. So you were coaching under Stu Merrill and Majerus, two, I think, like pretty legendary coaches, like guys I don't think get enough credit, like Merrill's in his offense. Like I don't think it's talked about enough of how efficient that was at Utah State and like how pretty that offense was. Anything you kind of can share about stuff you learned from those guys, either offensively or just kind of like coaching ways, anything to share of what you've learned under those guys, the time you spent under those guys?
Yeah. So with Coach Majerus, he was all about defense and rebounding, right? He was all about defensive rebounding, and accountability was off the charts, and his attention to detail, and he was really good, right? I was so lucky to learn from him right from the start, because I don't think I could have worked for somebody not easy, but somebody that not as tough and hard nosed, and then gone to him, right? Like that would have been holy cow. Like I worked with some coaches that came in that worked for him as like their third or fourth head coach, and they're like, holy crap, this is hard. Like luckily I got broken right away. So he was all about defense, rebounding, accountability. But what I learned from him offensively was just like the freedom of it, and making plays for each other, right? I guess it wasn't a lot of freedom. It was more kind of, we want to get the best freaking shot every single time. But I guess I would more say sacrificing for your teammate to make sure he gets an open shot. Like that's something that he talked about all the time, is screening, cutting, all the different ways to get your teammate an open shot. And that kind of, that's where I got a lot of offensive stuff from him there, and getting the best shot over and over again. That was super important to him. And accountability with offensive rebounding. And then with Stu Morrill, he was all about pace. He was all about timing. All these things mattered to him. Like he would spend every single day 10 minutes of doing these same plays over and over and over again. And you felt like he had 50 plays, because like that's what it felt like when you were scouting him. But it wasn't like that. But it was relentless, doing the same thing over and over and over again, where, guys that would play for him for 4 or 5 years, they're like, if I run this play one more time, I'm going to, they just hate it because they did it so much over and over again, where he was a really good defensive coach and rebounding coach, but he absolutely loved offense. And that's where I learned so much from him that way, and just pace, timing, and just the, little I can't even say that word right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
That's the word I was trying to say. Is I learned so much from him that way, and he just had a great feel on how to take an advantage of how teams were guarding him, and man, I just learned so much. He was, I still talk to him a lot, and he's been a great mentor of mine.
No, I think that's so cool. It's kind of, you mentioned similar kind of principles there of just like accountability and getting good shots, but it's like such two different offenses and defenses to do it. And then you guys are even implementing some of that stuff now with like what you're looking at Kentucky, like you're talking about the rebounding and accountability and getting open shots. It just looks different for you guys, and the pace, I'm sure, looks a little bit different.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's not even close. And then Dave Rose too. He was a master at giving his players freedom and letting them go and playing fast. Like I didn't understand pace in the full court until I went to BYU. I had pace in the half court, Stu Morrill off the charts, but pace full court and letting them go was Dave Rose. And then Coach Pope's taken it another level too. And it's just been awesome to learn and seeing how these head coaches do it and giving their players freedom and confidence.
Love it, man. And then last question I got here before you get into a couple other things is just like, what's your why of getting through all this, man? If you have bounced around a bunch, and like you said, with your family and stuff like that, you're asking to move to all these places. You're going from Riverside, Utah for a while, different places, and then to Kentucky. Like how do you get through kind of day to day, and like what drives you to keep going after as long as it's been?
Yeah, I mean, I've been really lucky to experience the first staff that I spent with at University of Utah, we just got so close and we became so together. And then I got so close with the players, and I was like, man, this is camaraderie and just being around everybody and being about team. I absolutely love it. Like, I am all about team, all about doing it together. No ego. Like, that's super important to me. And so every stop I've kind of tried to build my career and how I am as a teammate to the rest of the staff and things like that. That's been super fun to me. I love basketball. I like drawing up, plays. That's like 3% of my job. Like, that is on the court's 3% of it. I love it. I like learning new things. I like getting to know people, but being around the team, being around the staff, like that's my favorite part. Like our staff at Kentucky, I could hang out with those guys every single night, right? Like that's my favorite part about it. You just feel so close and connected, and that's my why, right? Like, the relationships with people, that's what I really enjoy. All the drawing up plays, that's fun, but that's not a huge part of it at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's so funny too, especially as coaches. It's like how many times are we drawing up a play too, especially with you guys, with how much you pace. It's like how many sets are you guys running and stuff. But it's like so much of your time spent with your basketball family. One of the things you mentioned there was kind of like being around guys with no ego, especially being at kind of these big spots you've been at with like BYU and then now Kentucky. How do you guys implement that with your guys of like trying to take their ego out of it? Because you end up with so many guys with like top rankings or things like that, and like might have a little bit of an ego or kind of feel for themselves. Is that something you guys recruit coming in, making sure you got low ego guys, or is that something I'm sure you implement a little bit? But what's that look like for you guys trying to really implement that as your team culture, like having no ego?
That's a great point. We spend a lot of time on that. We talk about it recruiting. Like, if you don't want to come here and hang banner number 9, and that's not the most important thing to you, don't come here. Now it's hard because most kids want to say the right things, right? But we spend a ton of time on it. We do community service like crazy. Like, this summer, we've done more community service in our 8 weeks than any other program has done in a full year. And it's not even close combined. Like, that's super important to us. That's one reason why I love Coach Pope too, is he was Pac-10 freshman of the year at Washington. But he didn't want that. He wanted to win a national championship. He transferred to Kentucky. He came off the bench. He was drafted. He was one of 9 NBA players on that team, and he won a national championship. He played in the NBA for, like I said, just under a decade. The most important thing to him was, still to this day, is winning national championship. Like, that's what he talks about. That's the coolest thing. He's a great teammate. And so, like, he's that, right? Like, that's what he is. And that infiltrates with our team, infiltrates with our staff. That's how he acts. Whether it's office meeting, this or that, a manager or a GA can have a great idea. Like, he's got no ego about him. So that kind of builds in with the rest of our team. And that's something that I've believed in since day one, since Majerus cracked me day one. And I had like all staff and players were like, holy crap, sorry about that. But it is what it is. We're all in this together. We kind of all had to come in together as one to kind of take on Coach Majerus, because he was such a figure that way.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with coaches. Like, if they have an ego, man, it's gonna just drip down to all the guys and stuff like that. It like starts with us, like, in coaches, and making sure we're having no ego and everything, man.
Exactly.
All right, last thing I got for you here is I'm going to put you in the hot seat a little bit, giving you a 30-second timeout to draw something up like we were talking about, put together a little play here. Situation I'm giving you is a 12 seconds left, tie game, and you got to go length of the floor. So what do you got drawn up to try and win that game here?
That's great. So what I'd like to do is, first off, I'd like to see, who the worst defenders are out there and who they're guarding, which I kind of will have a good feel of who they're guarding. I will have the worst defender in the right corner in the full court. The full court, bottom right corner, and then I'll try to have the other one at the top of the key on our basket. I'll have one of the better defenders hopefully guarding the ball. They're 4-man. Our 4-man's going to throw it into the 1. He's going to sprint to the opposite corner. So we're going to try to keep him out of the play. Okay. I'll have another guard another guard on the ball side block. I mean, on the left block. It's not our left block. Sorry, it's easier for me to draw it as I'm going, so I'm kind of like as I'm drawing it here. So I'm gonna have the 4 pitch it into the 1. He's running to the left corner. I'll have a guard on the left block, the right corner, and have somebody at the top of the key. Okay, so what I'd like to do is sprint down. I'll have the guy on the left block run over the guy at the top of the key. Okay. And he's going to be running into the right corner. And those guys are going to kind of screen or interchange. Okay. And as that guard's coming up from the right corner and my guard's trying to get downhill, driving the right side, he's going to kind of set, we call it a peel, right? Where he's not going to set a ball screen. He's just going to kind of peel and flare off the top guy at the top of the key. And I'm hopefully going to be able to get that guard downhill. And I'm hopefully going to get that guard, and he's just going to be kind of by himself. We'll have both corners filled. We'll have the top of the key kind of filled where he's setting a flare, and we're going to try to get downhill and see if we have all 5 guys, spaced out. Now, going into this game, I'm going to have a great feel on how you're guarding. If you're switching, if you're staying with your own, and I'll kind of do something a little bit different, but I'm feeling like they're going to switch. And I got their worst defenders that have trouble communicating, and that would be my goal, that I'm trying to get downhill and make a play.
Awesome, man. So just make sure I understand that right. So you're the guy from the right corner is coming off the flare, and he's getting the catch. Eventually he's the one getting the ball off kind of the top of the key.
So, sorry, 1 second. I'm on a Zoom. So what I'd like to do is the point guard that's driving it down. Dribbling it down on the right pro lane, the right slot area. Like you said, the guy from the corner, he's going to come up like he's setting a screen, but he's going to be coming off that peel. If they switch or they screw it up, the point guard's going to read it. If he can just get downhill that they screwed up the switch, he's going to get downhill. If not, he's going to throw it back to the flare, and now he's going to try to get downhill or look for a shot.
Awesome. No, I love it. Kind of keeping with the pace you're going with there to try and then I'm sure crashing boards on that too with what you guys do. Exactly.
Yeah, we're always looking to wedge. Now I know we got 12 seconds, but I want to try to get this thing up with 7 seconds and give us a chance and maybe get an offensive rebound and But I hope that makes sense. I can draw it up for you too here.
That's perfect. I'll probably draw it up and send it to you. Make sure it looks good. Curious on that. You mentioned kind of your matchups there with really trying to isolate those like worst defenders. Does that change your personnel at all? Or do you care? Is it like, I know their worst defenders guarding our 3-man, so the 3-man's going in the corner. Is that kind of, it doesn't even matter who your personnel is. You're kind of basing it off of how they're matching up.
Correct. Yep. I'm kind of just trying to get them, like I said, I know exactly usually at this time, if it's not game number 1, game number 2, or game number 3, I'll have a great feel on what they do at the end of the games, how they do it, and how we can look to exploit them. So yeah, I'd like to get those guys involved, the worst defenders, and we'll know who's a great candidate that we can backdoor. We'll know who is a great candidate that we can get downhill on. So we'll have a great feel. But I'm going to put that kid in there because I know he'll be the worst defender. And we're always going to have 5 guys out there probably that can shoot at that time. So we'll want all guys that can shoot it there.
I love it. It's kind of cool for you guys being able to trust all 5 to make a shot. Like, it's great to have a go-to guy, but it's even better to have 5 guys that can make a shot at the end of the game. It doesn't even matter who you guys have out there. That's awesome.
And like you said, now we're still going in there to wedge rebound.
Absolutely. Keeping with those principles you guys got. I'm sure guys are worn down by minute 42 of like getting wedged in. It's like, gosh, I got to deal with this one more time again.
Oh, exactly. It's awesome. Right. And, hopefully we do a great job of coaching it this year, and we've become great at that.
I love it, Coach. Well, I appreciate your time, man. Really looking forward to watching you guys at Kentucky, what you're putting in, watching you fly around and make a lot of threes. Coach, appreciate your time, man. Good luck this year.
Sounds good. Appreciate you. Thank you.